Hey y'all, and welcome back to another Photoshop tutorial. I'm Jane Corley with Pic Visions, Media Arts and Photography. If it's your first time here, welcome! Make sure to like this video if you learned something new, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you can be notified every time a new video is uploaded every week. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about hotkeys. If you've seen any of my other videos, you know how fond I am of hotkeys, so let's jump right into it and see how you can streamline your workflow. These hotkeys are not mandatory, they are just to help your workflow, streamline everything. If something works for you, use it. If it doesn't work for you, don't use it. First, if you have any questions about hotkeys when it comes to the tools, you can simply just hover over the tool icon, and most settings on your computers it's going to have the hover over, or you can select one that has a drop down menu and find where it says the letter over next to it, and that's the hotkey command. So as you can see, the move tool is the letter V as in Victor, the marquee tool is M for marquee, lasso is L for lasso. This includes all the selections within the window. If this one is selected here and you're switching from tool to tool, you can simply hit M and you'll go back to your elliptical marquee tool. Lasso, same drop down with the polyagonal and the magnetic lasso tool. Then your wand brush is going to be W for wand, your quick selection wand, and your magic wand tool. Then you have your crop tool, C for crop, of course. Eyedropper is going to be the letter I as in indigo, not E for eyedropper, I as in eyedropper. Then it's going to be J for your spot healing brush tool, B for regular brush, S for stamp. It's going to be Y for your history brush tool, E for eraser, G for gradient. Your blur, sharpen, and smudge tool does not have a hotkey command listed. Your dodge, burn, and sponge tool are going to be the letter O as in Oscar, P for the pen tool, T for the text tool, the letter A for your path selection tool, A for your direct selection tool and your path selection tool, U for your rectangle, rounded, ellipse, polyagonal, line, and custom shape path tool, the letter U as in uniform, H for hand, and Z for zoom. Your foreground and background colors can be reset with the letter D as in Delta, and to switch back and forth from your foreground to your background tool is going to be the letter X. To edit your image in Quick Mask tool, you're going to, as you see here, use the letter Q. And to change between your screen modes, it's going to be the letter F. The screen modes include, you see I have my toolbar all down here, my windows, my layers, all this good stuff is all included in my window. If I toggle on my letter F, that screen mode will change, providing content or removing content from my Photoshop window. Now let's jump into selection hotkeys. To draw a marquee from the center of your image, M for marquee, you're going to hit Alt or Option and drag on the selection. That's going to create from the middle. To add to the selection, you're going to hold the Shift and drag, which will now combine multiple areas where you snag them. So you can create different shapes using squares or circle elliptical tools to add or subtract. Now we know how to add. How do you subtract? By hitting your Alt or Option key, you can drag down and remove from that selection. To add pixel by pixel to this selection, simply use your arrow keys and it will expand by 1 pixel increment if you go to the right, and it will decrease by 1 pixel increment if you go to the left. If you want to copy this selection, do make sure you are on the correct layer. Control C will copy, and Control or Command, of course, V will paste. It will automatically post on a new layer. To delete a layer, simply make sure that the layer is highlighted and hit either Delete or Backspace, or you can drag down to the trash can if that's more your flow. To reselect your previous selection, if you've already clicked off of it, Control or Command Shift the letter D will populate that selection. To feather this selection or go into your refine edge, you can feather the selection by hitting Shift and F6 key and go move up and down with your arrows if you wish to feather, or you can type in this feather radius here to create a feathered selection. Let's do M from our key and we'll select off of that. Let's go to viewing an image on a screen. If you want to fill the entire screen with your image, hit Control or Command 0 and that will fill the entire frame. To zoom into the image, hit Control plus or Command plus. To zoom out, it's Control minus. Control 0 to fill the frame. To go to 100% view, see we're at 21.38% down here on our zoom level. To zoom to 100% view level of the actual pixels, you can either double click on the zoom icon, like so, or you can hit Control and the number 1. Control 0 to fill the frame. If you want to eliminate or temporarily hide these icons here, your file bar, all your layers information, your properties and histories and actions and all that good stuff, you can simply just toggle the tab bar on your keyboard and it will hide or reveal those icons. If you wish to hide or show all panels except for the toolbar panel and the options bar, you can hit Shift and Tab and it will eliminate simply the Layers tab. Let's jump over to our layers. If you wish to create a new layer, Control or Command Shift and the letter N as in Nancy. This will create a new layer. The window will pop up. You can fill out all these options, whatever you want to do. Hit OK after you're done and it will create a new layer. I find it simply easy just to come down here to the new layer icon next to the trash can at the bottom of the Photoshop window. If you wish to cycle through the blending modes, do make sure you are on a layer that is compatible with the blending mode and simply hit Shift and minus or Shift and plus to scroll through the blending modes. Shift plus will go down, Shift minus will go up. To move a layer up and down through the layers panel, stacking it below or above another layer, simply hit Control or Option, bracket to the left, bracket to the right will move this layer up and down through your layers panel. You can also simply just click and drag this layer where you would like it in your layers stack. So let's move on to the text tool. If you have any questions beyond these hotkeys, please refer back to my text tool tutorial a few weeks ago. It should be in the same playlist. So first and foremost, we'll go T for text and anywhere on the image and write "look at this!" exclamation point. So to select all on the layer, so to select all of the text on the text tool layer, you can either double click on the thumbnail in the layers icon, so this area here, and it will highlight, or you can just come up and highlight it with your mouse. To increase or decrease the size of the text by 1 point, you can Control Shift and use your, I'm not quite sure what this tool is called, it's the little Pac-Man arrow that's located beside the letter M on a QWERTY keyboard and below the letter L above the Control or Option key. It's not a bracket, it's like an arrow button. To the left will make it larger, arrow button to the right will make it smaller. Or select all the text by simply clicking on the text, and you can highlight this number up here and use your arrow keys to go up if you need something a little more precise, and your arrow keys down if you need a little bit smaller, or you can just type in a number after highlighting the text and change the size that way. To increase or decrease the kerning or the tracking of the spacing of the letters, the kerning, simply hit the Alt or the Option key and use your arrow keys to the left and to the right will increase and decrease the kerning or the tracking of the text. To align the text to the left, the right, or the center, so to change the justification, hit Control Shift or Command Shift if you're on a Mac. Left is the letter L, right is the letter R, and center is the letter C. Makes pretty good sense. Control Shift L for left justification, R for right justification, and C for center justification. So let's move on to painting. Select off the text layer. We'll do B for brush to start painting. Fill selection with a background color. Let's create a new layer. We already got one right here. How handy. To fill a selection with a background color, Control Backspace. We'll fill it with a color. Fill a selection with the foreground color. So background color is Control Backspace, and fill with the foreground color is Alt Backspace. To select a color with the eyedropper tool to do a fill layer like the one that we just did. I just shut that layer off. I'm going to come back to my background. I'm going to do I for eyedropper tool, select the color, it's in my foreground color now, and simply come back up to the layer, and Alt Backspace will fill with the color selected on the foreground and the background. To change the paint opacity, make sure you're on brush. The opacity, just simply hit the return button. When you're anything that makes a mark like a brush or a clone stamp or even your gradient, you have an opacity selection up here. Simply hit your enter or return button. That number will get highlighted and you can type in whatever your heart desires. Now this is something that did frustrate me just a little bit when I first started because I couldn't figure out why. Just why was this happening? Your brush you can make smaller or larger with the bracket tools to the left and to the right. And if you would like one of the cursors that has the target in the middle so you know exactly where you're painting, simply just turn on your caps lock. This will though get rid of the large ring around the brush tip, and when you bracket up and bracket down you won't be able to see where you're painting, you'll just see where the main pressure is coming from. So I really don't like using that one. Some people really do, but I don't. So taking your caps lock on and off will change that cursor to just a plus rather than the entire brush icon. So to decrease the hardness of the brush, this selection up here where you say hardness, you can come up here to this window here and adjust your hardness, or you can hit Shift and your bracket keys to the left and to the right to decrease your hardness. To change the blend mode options located here in the brush menu, you can cycle through them with Shift plus and Shift minus. So let's move on to the pen tool, P for pen. To get direct selection tool while using your pen tool, simply hit Control while you're moving your pen tool to create a path. To switch between or add and delete anchor points, simply click on the anchor point holding the Alt key or the Option key to make an adjustment. To switch between add anchor and delete anchor points, simply hit your Alt button and click on the anchor, or click on the new location where you would want your anchor to be added. To select a whole path with a direct selection tool, hit Alt or Option and click to make that selection to create a shape. Now let's switch over to panels, how to manipulate the panels using hotkeys. Show or hide your brushes panel, F5. F5 will hide it, F5 will make it appear. Show or hide your color panel, that's going to be F6. Show or hide. Show or hide your layers panel, that's going to be F7. Let's do F5 to get rid of this brush panel. F7 will show or hide your layers panel. By holding Alt or your options and hitting F9, it will pull up your actions panel. And to open Adobe Bridge, see mini bridge down here, Control Alt and the letter O. or Command Option and the letter O. And this will open your File Explorer for Bridge. To switch between documents, I've got two open up here. To switch between them, if I wanted to do a color selection on this guy, and I wanted to add this red to this past selection I made up here. Instead of going up here to my tabs, I could very quickly hit Control or Command on a Mac and tab, and it will tab over to my other open document, whether it's before or after listed in this view. To undo or redo a selection, let's say I wanted to put a big old stripe right here of this salmon color, and then I decided, well, I really don't like that. So I'm going to Control Z, and if I needed to continue going back, I could Control or Command, Alt or Option all at the same time, and the letter Z to continue to step backwards. Control Shift Z or Command Shift Z will redo your selections and step you forward. So Control, Command, Alt or Option, Z as in Z will undo. Control Shift Z as in Z or Command Shift Z will step you back forward if you need to redo your option. To add or remove the rulers on your workspace, Control R will add them, Control R will replace them. So R for ruler, just remember to hit the Control or the Command as well as hitting R to get your rulers on or off of your workspace. If you wish to toggle between the multiple options within a tool menu, simply add the Shift key to the letter Command. So B for brush, right? So we do Shift and just B, 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 B until we got to the tool we wanted. Same with W for wand. Shift W to go to the magic wand tool. Let's do G for gradient. Say I wanted to G to go to the paint bucket. Shift G to cycle back. To rotate your image within the Photoshop window, hit the letter R, and you can click on the image and rotate it how you would like. By holding the Shift key, it will hold the integrity of a reliable angle. So you can snap it immediately to the 180, to the 90, and all the way around. We talked about the ruler earlier. If you wish to create gridded guidelines on your image to give you the division of your image, click and drag while the rulers are visible to get the division. One last little tip before I close it down: selections. Selection tools that I use that were not included on this list. If you want to select the whole image, Control A for Control All. That's kind of how I think about it. Now if you wanted to transform your canvas, Control T or Command T. This would transform everything that's included in the layer that you have selected. So you can transform all the way around. So you see that only did this layer here. Let's hit Enter and we'll do Control Z to undo that. Let's select all of our layers. Select at the top, hit Shift, and select at the bottom. Now we can do a Control T to transform. By holding Shift, we can hold the integrity of the image and rotate it on its canvas. We can now make adjustments with the anchor points if we would like, to distort by holding the Shift button down. We can also hit the Control or the Option button down if we wish to skew the image. And we can hold the Control or Command button to skew the image. Then you can hit the Alt button to perform resize or flip arounds of the image and transform it that way on the vertical and on the horizontal, and even on the corners if you wish to flip them horizontally, vertically, however you want to do it. So those are your transform tools. But do make sure that you have all of the layers selected. I do hope this tutorial was helpful on some tips and tricks for your Photoshop workflow when it comes to hotkeys. If I forgot any of the important hotkeys, please leave it in the comments below for your fellow post-production artists. I do look forward to seeing you guys next week. Please make sure to like this video if you learned something new, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you can be notified every time a new video is uploaded every week. Until then, I'm Jane Corley with Pic Visions, Media Arts and Photography. See you later, guys.